Welcome to the September 2022 committee meetings of Dubbo Regional Council. I advise that Council is now web streaming its standing committees and Council meetings live to the internet, and as such all those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Your attendance at this meeting is your acceptance of the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded Council meetings and standing committee meetings. I now open the September 2022 Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee meeting, the time being 5:30 p.m. First item on the agenda is item IPEC 22/36, leave of absence. Apologies. I've received apologies from Councillors Wells and Mahon. Can I please have someone move that the apologies from Councillors Wells and Mahon be accepted? Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Thank you. Any questions or debate, councillors? There being none, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. The second item on the agenda is IPEC 22/40, conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare? There being none, we'll move to the next item, which is IPEC 22/41, report of the Climate Change and Resilience Committee meeting 24 August 2022. Can I please have someone move the report of the Climate Change and Resilience Committee be noted? Councillor Wright, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thanks, Josh. No, stand up today. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Black. Oh, look, just a very general comment, and I'm sure it'll be echoed by many of the other chairs of the other committees. But look, more just a thank you again to the number of people who put their hand up for that committee. We had a very typical first meeting, a very light discussion, I suppose, on where that committee wants to head, and no doubt there's a really diversified group of people in that committee. So they're looking forward to the discussion as we move forward within that committee. But yeah, thanks again to those people who put their hand up and volunteered. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Ivey?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Black. I attended that meeting and would echo Councillor Wright's comments. I think it was a good meeting. I think it's a very important committee. If we look at perhaps some of the big pictures that's happening around the world in Pakistan and the floods there and the droughts in the western parts of the United States, the wet conditions here, the drought that we had a couple of years ago, it does bring home the importance of climate change and the importance of being resilient towards those fluctuations in climate that we're sure to encounter in future, and I think this committee is a very important one in working within that space.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any other comments or debate, councillors? Yes, I'd echo those comments of Councillor Ivey and Councillor Wright. All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. Item IPEC 22/42, update on the fluoridation of Dubbo urban area water supply. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Director of Infrastructure? Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Any questions or debate, councillors? Councillor Dickerson, the Mayor Dickerson.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I just would like to note that the resolution of Council around fluoridation did discuss the fact that the CEO would complete asset renewals of the fluoridation capability in 22-23. So essentially that means by 30 June 23. And I notice in the report there it does talk about the fact that the predicted timeframe at this level is late March, early April to award the works through the tender process. So I'd just like to ask the CEO through you to comment on that, given the fact that we have previously said that June 23 would be when we'd have fluoridation in operation again.
Thank you. CEO, Mr Wood.
Thank you, Chair. Where there is a lot of time in that initial program, very early program from Public Works, to do documentation, and I'll be very surprised if we can't accelerate that process. If you think about not being able to complete tender documentation until next year, I think that's overly conservative. So I think there is lots of fat to trim in that program we have to date. So we'll still work towards that 30 June 2023. Should there be changes, we go through the documentation and get a clearer picture of the tender and likely construction program, we'd bring a report back to the committees or council.
Thank you, Mr Chair. And again, I suppose that was the important part. If that timeframe does change through those processes, then the community will be informed about that process. But at this stage, still working towards 30 June 23.
Thank you. Any other questions or debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey.
Just a comment or perhaps a question through you, Mr Chairman, again to the CEO. There certainly seems to be a fair degree of understanding in the community about the problem that we've had with fluoridation, and that, to say, the community does understand the problems we've had, and a degree of acceptance that it is a difficult situation, that we are working hard to overcome it as quickly as we can. Are those comments fair? Is that the perception amongst the staff?
Thank you. CEO, Mr Wood.
Subjective comments. I think we haven't certainly picked up many customer complaints regarding fluoride. I guess the most feedback we had was around not being advised earlier when there was a failing in the system. So now that we've proactively put in front of the community the issue and the fact that we have a potential solution, and now further, and why this report's in front of councillors today, we have a preferred solution we're going to market as soon as possible. I think that's probably given community confidence in the feedback I've had to date.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Wood. Any other questions or comments, councillors? Very exciting time for oral health in Dubbo, this will be. Let's put that. All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. Next item is IPEC 22/43. Draft Water Supply and Sewerage Customer Service Plan 2022-2023 and 2023-2024 and 2022 Water Supply and Sewerage Customer Service Survey results. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Water Sewer Client Services Coordinator? Councillor Goff, seconded by Councillor Ivey. Thank you. We now have a presentation from the Water Sewer Client Services Coordinator regarding this item.
Thank you. So my name's Beck Eade and I'm the Water Sewer Client Services Coordinator, and I'm here to give you just a quick overview on my report. So the Water Supply and Sewerage Customer Satisfaction Survey is conducted every 2 years, and its purpose is to gauge customer satisfaction in relation to water and sewerage services. The survey directs our strategic planning and guides the revision of our customer service standards in accordance with legislative requirements for local government water utilities in New South Wales. Oops, sorry. No, next one, sorry. Micromex Research was chosen through a vendor panel process this year, and they completed a telephone survey to 500 respondents in our service supply areas in June and July. The 2022 survey results indicate an overall level of satisfaction with our water and sewer services, which is consistent with previous years. It is noted that this survey was conducted during the Geary Ball Water Alert, where more people responded to problems with water quality. If customers reported a water or sewer problem, they were asked if they were satisfied with the workmanship. This year was the first time that a third answer was available from just yes or no, and that was can't say. So that was where customers couldn't comment as they couldn't see the repairs carried out, such as repairs to a burst water main. It is pleasing to note that our council is above the comparable benchmark for regional council surveys in New South Wales in relation to importance and satisfaction for water and sewer services. As I previously mentioned, those survey results guide the revision of our customer service standards every year. So this document has formally been known as our Water Supply and Sewerage Customer Service Standards, and we have now developed a new document called our Water Supply and Sewerage Customer Service Plan. The development of a customer service plan is a requirement of best practice in New South Wales, and this plan has been developed using a guideline template from the Water Directorate. They are a technical advisory board for local water utilities in New South Wales, made up of 18 elected from the membership and 2 nominated from local government New South Wales. DRC is a member of this Water Directorate. So overall, the plan informs customers what they can expect in relation to water and sewer. So it's now a one-stop document, easy to read, nice table of contents, customer focused and not just about our standards. So parts of the plan include our water and sewerage services. So these are things like our smart meter technology, septage, water filling stations, to sewer drainage plans, tours of our treatment plants and our water saving programs. The customer service processes include our water and sewer connections, our metering, maintenance, billing and complaints. Responsibility, so what council and what the customers are responsible for. For example, the customer's internal plumbing and drainage. And lastly, the plan covers our customer service standards, so what we aim to achieve. And this is in relation to the notification that we give to customers for works, the water supply interruptions or sewer interruptions, our water supply pressure and our response times. It is noted from these survey results and consistent with many of the previous year's results that well over 80% of people are not prepared to pay higher charges to see shorter response times. So as a result, we have now clearly defined our priority levels for our response times in accordance with National Performance Reporting and the New South Wales Office of Water benchmarking. So as my report recommends, both the 2022 Customer Satisfaction Survey results and the new draft Water Supply and Sewerage Customer Service Plan be placed on public exhibition. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Does anyone have any questions for the coordinator? No?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much for that. Any other questions or debate, councillors, on the motion?
I now open the September 2022 Culture Community Committee. Item CCC 22/38, leave of absence. The first item of business is an apology we've received from Councillor Wells and Councillor Mann. Can I please have someone move the apologies? Councillor Dickerson, second by Councillor Chowdhury. Any questions or debate? All those in favour? Carried. Item CCC 22/39, conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare? Being none, we'll move on. Item CCC 22/40, report of the Ruwadjuri Tourism Project Committee meeting on the 8th of August 2022. Can I please have someone move the report of the Ruwadjuri Tourism Project Committee? Councillor Burns, second by Councillor Chowdhury. Any questions or debate? There being none, all those in favour? Carried. Item CCC 22/41, report of the Multicultural Advisory Committee, meeting held on the 22nd of August. Can I please have someone move the report of the Multicultural Advisory Committee be noted? Moved by Councillor Chowdhury, second by Councillor Etheridge. Any questions or debate?
And just got to speak to his motion.
Councillor Chowdhury.
Yeah, and I'm just making a comment. There is a number of community members, they put their hand and came to that committee. I would like to thank that, and also Councillor Matt Wright with me on that advisory committee. And also I'd like to acknowledge, last week we had a multiculturalism minister came, and our member for Davo and our mayor came to meet with the committee. So I'm looking forward, a lot of good outcome should become through this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Any other questions or debate? All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 22/43, report of the Reconciliation Action Plan Working Party, meeting held on the 29th of August.
42.
Sister City.
42, Sister City.
It's all right, I'm just dyslexic. Moving back, item CCC 22/42, report of the Sister City Committee held on the 23rd of August. Can I please have someone move the report of the Sister City Committee? Councillor Chowdhury, second by Councillor Etheridge. Would you like to speak on your motion?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Any other questions or debate? I'll speak because I attended. I'm on the Sister City Committee, and it was a really good turnout, and I'm looking forward to what happens in the production we get with the new Sister City Committee. It's looking exciting. Anyway, all those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Back to item CCC 22/43, report of the Reconciliation Action Plan Working Party, meeting on the 29th of August. Can I have someone move the Reconciliation Action Plan Working Party? Councillor Burns, second by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Burns, would you like to speak on your motion?
Yeah, I will. Thank you, Mr Chair. Anyway, but I'm glad the Reconciliation Action Plan Committee is finally put together. I was at the meeting, I think it was about a week ago, and got a good line of people on the RAP committee, and I was elected chair and accepted it. So looking forward to what changes we can make and comparing it with other RAPs, making sure we do it better.
Thank you, Councillor Burns. Any other questions or debate? All those in favour? Motion carried. Item CCC 22/44, Macquarie River and Tracker-Riley Cycleway Walkway Wayfinding Project. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Manager of Recreation and Open Space? Councillor Black, second by Councillor Ivey. Any questions or debate? Councillor Wright.
Just a question, Madam Chair, through you to the CEO. Does the community have an opportunity to contribute a little bit further? I know there's some draft designs there that have some an opportunity to contribute a bit further with regards to the content that they think might be useful on those particular wayfinding signs.
Through you, Chair. Yeah, there'll be some opportunities in that regard, and as you may see in the report, even to the design of, given it's Tracker-Riley, having a Ragery design element as well. I guess what we're putting in front of you is the layout and the style and the series of different signs you will see. It is subject to a grant, so we do have to deliver against the timelines, but yes, there'll be opportunities. The short answer to your question.
Any other question or debate? Mayor Dickerson.
Thank you. I think this is pretty exciting because you do see a lot of people using Tracker-Riley now, and I've noticed myself some of the signage that's down there is starting to miss a bit. So the old White Bridge, for example, is called Pike Bridge on there, the W's come off there, and so it's probably time to upgrade that. But there's a fair variety of signs there as well, and I'm quite excited by the actual new signage, the style of that new signage, which again is in concept form at this stage, but that will be refined further. And as Councillor Wright said, there might be some additional design elements coming from the community. But I think in the consistency around the whole area, just for the amount of usage that's there, I think it is a really powerful tourism product that we don't really see as a tourism product that often. So pretty excited by this, and I'm looking forward to it. The really exciting part about it is that it's costing us nothing. So all that money is coming from external funding sources, which is fantastic.
Thank you. Any other questions or debate? All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 22/45, the naming of Victoria Park No. 1 Oval Change Room Amenity Function Building, the Tony Kelly Pavilion, following public exhibition. We have a speaker registered. Mr. Ken Rogers has registered to speak on this item. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair and councillors. This elected body, through no fault of its own, inherited a venerable minefield of issues from its predecessor. Subsequently, this council is faced with a massive task of rebuilding trust and respect within the community. And I am confident that under the current leadership, this council, given time and right decisions, will achieve this. Among the issues and problems inherited, there is, however, a positive, and that is the resolution of the previous council, and I quote, that council resolved to take all necessary steps to name Victoria Park No. 1 Oval Tony Kelly Oval. Unfortunately, for reasons not understood by myself, TC's family and many others, this has become embroiled in a political and bureaucratic quagmire. What we know is this: the naming of significant infrastructure, places and facilities in honour of past citizens and public officials of note in honour of their service is not without precedent and is a noble thing to do. A number of prominent citizens, including former mayors, Member of Parliament and council staff, sports officials and business people wrote to the former council proposing that No. 1 be named in honour of Tony Kelly. As I said, the former council unanimously resolved to take all necessary steps to do so. However, mistakenly and possibly mischievously, this decision was referred to the Geographic Names Board of New South Wales, which, based on a handful of erroneous and inaccurate submissions, declined to approve the proposal. We now know that the proposal to name the oval after the late Tony Kelly was outside the purview of the New South Wales Geographic Names Board. Members of the GNB have admitted the mistakes in conversation with Mrs Kelly and her daughter Lee Price. Council is in possession of a statutory declaration attesting to this fact. We know that Council is in possession of a paper-based petition and an electronic petition, together with bearing the signatures of over 430 citizens supporting the proposal to name No. 1 Tony Kelly Oval. Council's alternative proposal to name Victoria Park No. 1 Amenities Building the Tony Kelly Pavilion is widely seen as a poor substitute and has received little, if any, public support. Council knows and understands these truths. It is understood that for some time, at least for a generation into the future, the oval would still be named referred to as Vic Park No. 1 or simply No. 1 Oval. However, just as Ayers Rock has now become popularly known as Uluru, so time will see this oval become widely known and referred to as Tony Kelly Oval, and for good reason. We know that John Emile Sarisia founded Dubbo, and that Tony Kelly built the Dubbo we know and love today. We earnestly request that Council take the honourable decision and name the oval the Tony Kelly Oval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Rogers. Can I have someone move the recommendation of the report, the Manager of Recreation and Open Space? Councillor Etheridge, second by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Black has an alternative motion. An amendment, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My amendment is that that it be noted that the family of the late Mr Tony Kelly have requested the renaming of the change room amenity function building at Victoria Park No. 1 Oval as Tony Kelly Pavilion not be supported. 2, that Council does not name the pavilion the Tony Kelly Pavilion in line with the family wishes. And 3, that following determination of this matter, correspondence be sent to the family of the late Mr Tony Kelly advising them of Council's decision.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Would you like to speak to your amendment?
Oh, yes.
Oh, we need a seconder first. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment seeks to recognise the wishes of the family in not naming the pavilion after the late Mr Tony Kelly. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any other questions or debate? Councillor Dickerson.
Thank you. So I'd just like to pick up on a couple of points that are in our report there, and I tend to agree with some of the public commentary that the Juror Names Board did not need to be invoked in this process. Unfortunately, it was, and so that's occurred, and now what's done is done, and so we've moved past that now, and the idea of naming the pavilion, I think, was a reasonable recognition of Tony Kelly, given the fact that the reality was that the community had spoken out again through that Juror Names Board against the whole No. 1 Oval. And I thought the pavilion was a reasonable compromise, if you like, and it still gave recognition to the great work that Tony did in this community. I think Councillor Ivey it was who talked about the idea that, you know, even the great Don Bradman, the whole SCG was not named after Don Bradman, but a stand at the SCG was named after Don Bradman. And so I think Victoria Park No. 1 Oval, there was some community sentiment and some community angst about renaming Victoria Park No. 1 Oval. Having a pavilion named after Tony Kelly, I thought was a good compromise along that line. And I was quite happy to go down that path and name that in that way, and I thought that would be a nice way to recognise Tony. Unfortunately, as Councillor Black has said there, the family was not after the Tony Kelly Pavilion. They wanted the Oval or nothing, which I'm a little bit disappointed about, because I would like to name something in the community after Tony Kelly. I was on council when Tony Kelly was here as General Manager, so I'm a little bit disappointed about that. I was still keen to name the pavilion after that, but I also take Councillor Black's point that in respect of the family not wanting the pavilion named that way, then I almost feel, who am I to go against the family wishes in that way? And so unfortunately, I say unfortunately, I'll support Councillor Black's amendment, because that feels like the outcome that the family's after not naming the pavilion. But personally, I would still prefer to see the pavilion named the Tony Kelly Pavilion, but in this scenario, I'll support Councillor Black's amendment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Any other discussion or debate? All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Now I put the amendment as the motion. Do I have to say it again? So I need a councillor to move that. Is that right?
You're advising. You passed the amendment, and you just voted on the amended motion.
No, we've only passed the amendment.
Yes, that's where Jess was going. Yep, so now she's moving the motion.
So now it's the motion.
The motion now.
Yep. So can I have a councillor please move the amended?
It's been moved, so the amendment becomes the motion now.
Yes.
So now the councillors get the opportunity to discuss the now motion, and then they'll vote after that if there should be debate.
Okay. Any comments or debate about the amended motion? Yes,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Wright.
And look, just a general comment in this aspect that I think the community's had two opportunities here, and albeit one of them through the Geographical Names Board, which may or may not have been the correct way to do it at the time, although the community certainly had an opportunity to have their say with respect to the naming of Victoria No. 1 Oval. Further, they've had a second opportunity as well to comment on the possible name change of the pavilion as well, and seemingly there wasn't a huge level of objection with respect to that. So a bit like Councillor Dickerson, it's a shame to not have some sort of acknowledgement for Tony Kelly in his contribution, and I would have supported the pavilion idea, but nevertheless, I think the community's had their opportunity to contribute. I think if council were to go back out again, we're just going back to the same audience, and I would assume get the same responses that we had the first time. So, but nevertheless, happy to support the motion as it stands now.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Mayor Dickerson?
So I'll just say one other further thing. I was talking about the amendment previously, and I know the family has presented some further information and further petition in relation to No. 1 Oval. And I suppose the minor issue I have with what happened in June this year was that we said to the community that we proposed to name the clubhouse after Tony Kelly, and we said we'd go out for public exhibition for the clubhouse in particular, which we've done. We've gone out and invited public consultation on that. I think if we then came back and went in a different direction and named Number One Oval, I think the community could quite rightly say that we were a little bit disingenuous with the community because we hadn't made any mention of Number One Oval. In fact, it would seem like council had moved on from Number One Oval and had moved to an alternative, being the pavilion. And then if we jump back, it would almost seem like councillors were being a little bit sneaky or disingenuous in naming Number One Oval. When we didn't say that to the community, we said to the community we were going to name the clubhouse, and we invited feedback on that. So I think really we'd unfortunately moved on from Number One Oval. We'd gone to the clubhouse, and again, now with the wishes of the family, then I think unfortunately that discussion has now reached the point where there's nothing named after Tony Kelly. And again, as Mr. Rogers said, I was one of the people who signed the initial letter to council because I was in favour of naming Tony Kelly Oval. But again, I've got to respect that feedback process that's occurred as well. So even though we've got a petition there from the public, I just think the fact that we didn't actually say that in our public consultation process means we morally really can't go back and name Number One Oval, that it was either the pavilion or nothing, I think, when we got to this point now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Matt Dickerson. Any other discussion or debate? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Possibly a plaque commemorating Mr Kelly's service in the foyer of the council chamber, the council building. We might be able to do that at some later stage. We could consider and think about if the family wishes. Thank you.
Any other discussions or debate? So now I put the motion. All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 22/46, Macquarie Regional Library Quarterly Activity Report for April 2022 to June 2022. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Manager of Macquarie Regional Council? Councillor Black, second by Councillor Etheridge. Any questions or debate? Councillor Black.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I note how important libraries are in the community. There's so many different people from diverse backgrounds use libraries. They really are a focal point for the whole community. I also noticed that costs are going up, the operating expenses are going up, expected usage is going up, but the state government funding seems to be stuck at the same level of $370,000 a year into the foreseeable future. There's a real opportunity for the state government to greatly increase their funding, not just to the Macquarie Regional Library, but to libraries right across the state, because they are such an important hub in the community that so many people use. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any other discussions or debate? Councillor Ivey.
I'd just like to commend the report, or the information in the report. It's very comprehensive. Having said that, I might just wonder about the benefit cost of the report. I guess it takes quite a bit of time and person power to prepare that report, and I just wonder if it perhaps could be shortened a little bit with some of the pertinent information in there highlighted to report to council, so that it perhaps takes a little bit less time to prepare, and perhaps in doing so, presenting a summarised report, it may be a little bit more user-friendly as far as councillors are concerned.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favour? Declare the motion carried. We have a confidential item under Section 10A of the Local Government Act. The next item being item CCC 22/47, the DRTCC procurement of stage lighting equipment, has been identified as likely to be discussed in a closed session of committee to Section 10A 2DI of the Act. Can I have a motion to defer this item to be determined in a closed session after the Corporate Services Committee? Councillor Chowdhury, second by Councillor Etheridge. All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. That's it. This meeting is closed at 6:05 p.m.
Evening, councillors. I now open the September 2022 Corporate Services Committee meeting. at 6:05. First item on the agenda is CSC 22/39. I have a leave of absence request for Councillor Wells and Councillor Mann. Councillor, move that way, please. Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Seconded by Councillor Black. Any discussion or debate? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CSC 22/40, conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in... No, I don't need to do anything with that one, sorry. Skip on to the next one. CSC 22/41, report of the Villages Committee. Have someone move that way? Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Discussion, would you like to speak to that, Councillor Ivey?
Yes, please, Mr Chair. Yes, I was attended along with Councillor Chowdhury the inaugural meeting of the Villages Committee. I was given the honour of being elected chairman of that committee. And look, I'd just like to take this opportunity to say how important I think that committee is. We are the Dubbo Regional Council. The regions are very important to our whole fabric, and of course the villages surrounding the city of Dubbo are a very important part of our regional council, and so therefore I think it's very important that those villages have a voice through that committee into council. And the first meeting that we had, I think that that feeling came through. Certainly the participants and the members of the committee are very keen on progressing the whole of the Dubbo region. The comment perhaps I would make is that the nominations we got, and we got some very good nominations for the committee members, but they tend to be a little bit localised. They're perhaps not representative of the whole of the Dubbo region. We've got good representations from the Eucharinas, from Stewarttown, from Ballymore, and we also have a Wellington Town Committee, so Wellington is represented separately. But we don't have too much representation from the Wongarbans, the Gearys, the Brocklehursts, and I think it's important that the committee does work towards gaining that representation from those other areas. Now, so I'd just make this plea that for people to spread the message to those other regional villages that there is the opportunity there to make a contribution through council, into council through these committees, and either through tapping into the committee meeting online, or through an existing committee member, or even requesting them to be included perhaps as a late member delegate to that committee. I'd really like to see that Villages Committee become a very important part of the whole regional operation. Also, I think the Villages Committee is very important because I think in days gone past, I know the Wellington Council had a Rural Ratepayers Committee, I think, so the rural members of our region were represented through their own committee. Now, we haven't got that, and that's fine, but I think this Villages Committee might be, again, a conduit for some of those rural ratepayers or rural residents within our region to be formally represented. So again, I'd encourage any rural residents to have a voice through this Villages Committee. So I think that the first committee meeting had, it was a bit, everyone was getting to know one another and feeling their way a bit, but I think it really does have a lot of potential, and I think it will be a very productive and worthwhile committee. Thank you, Mr Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. And just it's worth noting in there, people can read in the business papers when those next meetings are. So 3 p.m. is when you have those meetings. 9 November is the next date. The first meeting you had in Stewarttown. Next meeting will be in Wellington, and then obviously they'll be determined in the future where those other meetings are held, but they'll be spread around those various villages throughout the LGA. So I think that is a good point to note. And yeah, I'd encourage the same as you, more people from different villages to come along and be part of that. And the more voices we get, the better consultation we achieve.
Mr Chair, can I just make another comment?
Sure.
Again, it was very interesting in discussing where we would have the subsequent meetings. Wellington was decided to be the next one, but there was a consensus among the members of that Villages Committee that it was really quite sensible perhaps to have a meeting in Dubbo because it was fairly central. And I thought, gee, if we can just encapsulate that where, yes, we've got villages out there waving their own flag and really flying their own flag, but recognising that perhaps Dubbo, to have a meeting in Dubbo is pretty convenient for people to get together and to discuss the business. So I thought that was a great positive.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Other questions or debate, councillors? No, there being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. There being no further items to consider in that particular committee, I declare the Corporate Service Committee closed at 6:10 p.m. I'll hand back over to Councillor Black to go through the confidential component of his meeting.
I now reopen the meeting of the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee, the time being 6:11 p.m. Back to our confidential item. I'll read it out again. Under Section 10A of the Local Government Act, the next item being item IPEC 22/45, options for the fluoridation of the Dubbo water supply, urban water supply, has been identified as likely to be discussed in a closed session of committee pursuant to Section 10A2C of the Act. Can I now have someone move us into confidential session to deal with that confidential item? Moved Councillor Goff, seconded by Councillor Dickerson. We've had no applications from members of the public to make their representations regarding whether the meeting should be closed to the public. Do any members of the public in the public gallery have any comments to make regarding the proposal to hear item IPEC 22/45 in a closed session of the committee? No. Any questions or debate? Councillors, all those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. We'll move into closed session, the time being 6:12 p.m. The committee returned to open session at 6:18 p.m. Welcome back. I now ask the Manager Governance and Internal Control to read the resolution of the closed session.
IPEC 22/45, options for the fluoridation of the Dubbo urban area water supply. 1, that option 3 of the options study be the recommended option for the fluoridation system at the Dubbo water treatment plant. 2, that council pursue the provision of a fluoridation system at the Dubbo water treatment plant through a design and construction tender process. 3, that the funds be allocated at the September quarterly review for a reprioritisation of the water capital works budget. 4, that the details of this report remain confidential as information will be contributing to public tender documentation.
Thank you. There are no further items for consideration of the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee, and I declare the meeting closed, the time being 6:18 p.m.
Okay. I now open the September 2022 Culture and Community meeting. I put here. Confidential item. Do I have to read all that? Under Section 10A of the Local Government Act, the next item being item CCC 22/47, DRTCC procurement of stage lighting equipment, has been identified as likely to be discussed in a closed session of committee. Can I now have someone move us into confidential session to deal with the confidential item? Councillor Chowdhury, second by Mayor Dickerson. We have no applications for members of the public to make their representation regarding whether the meeting should be closed to the public. Do any members of the public in the public gallery have any comments to make regarding this proposal to hear item CCC 22/47 in a closed session of committees? Nope. All those in favour? I declare the motion carried, and we will now move into closed session, the time being 6:20 p.m. The committee returned to open session at 6:29 p.m. Welcome back. I now ask the Manager of Governance and Internal Control to read the resolution of the closed session.
Item CCC 22/47, DRTCC, procurement of stage lighting equipment. 1, that Council approve the engagement of Audio Plus as the supplier of choice for the procurement of stage lighting for Dubbo Regional Theatre and Convention Centre, noting that Audio Plus is the only local company that can supply the equipment and provide the after-sales support to DRTCC, and the purchase is time critical to install due to limited available times for the installation of lights. 2, that the information contained within this report remain confidential to Council. 3, that any documentation in relation to this matter be executed under the Common Seal of Council.
Thank you. There are no further items of consideration of the Culture and Community Committee, and I declare the meeting closed at the time being 6:30 p.m.